Chirs Harrison teases new Bachelorette details, plus we have our first look at Matt James' season of The Bachelor. Hey guys, welcome back to another shared news from home. We have this week's Bachelor recap for you all, but before we get into it, if you're new here, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell so you don't miss out on any future updates. As always, I'm your host, Fiona Zaring, and I'm joined by the wonderful Avery Grooms.
Hi guys! Okay, so first up, we have some new Bachelorette teases from none other than Chirs Harrison. Chris stopped by Daily Pop and was grilled on the season. He was asked if Clare's journey ended early and about Tayshia's involvement and simply responded with, "Clare is the Bachelorette. The whole season is all about her finding love. Lord knows she waited long enough. I mean, she is our longest reigning Bachelorette ever." Chris went on to remind everyone how the pandemic of course delayed Clare's season, saying, "We were hours away when we hit the pause button for about 6 months, and she then had to go home and just think about being the Bachelorette. So when we were bound and determined to make this happen for her." When asked directly about the Tayshia rumors, he said, quote, "I don't know where these wild rumors come from, just crazy. There is 100% the Bachelorette. What happened above and beyond that, everyone will have to wait and see what happens." Since they had to film all in one location in the bubble, Chris says this definitely amplified things and in classic Chris fashion promised, "We don't know what's coming. We will be shocked and surprised." He said, "Bachelor Nation, you're going to get to see everything, every conversation, every decision. That will just dispel all rumors and really explain everything that's going on." So Fiona, I think we're gonna be able to see a lot more substance this season, and substance, I mean like not like filler, he said, she said. I think we'll get to see a lot more like character development and each contestant's own personal conversations. I know like at the beginning of the seasons, they usually just show highlights, which is great. Like we don't wanna see all the in between, but I think just being in this bubble will allow for more camera time for everyone, which could potentially be a good thing because you get to know the contestants even more. What do you think about this?
I think it'll be really interesting. I mean, there is something to be said about like in the normal seasons of The Bachelorette, they travel the world, they go, do these crazy dates with all of these extravagant setups. And while that makes for good TV, ultimately, what we all end up talking about is the drama, the relationships, the stuff going on in between the crazy obstacle course or like the game of football, they did for Peter's season. You still really are just interested in talking about the connections, the relationship, who's getting along with who has the best connection with him, all that jazz. So in theory, this setting is going to basically give us more time to just focus on that. And while it might not look like typical seasons, I think that we actually as fans might end up kind of liking it. Maybe they'll learn from this and do less flash, less fluff in the future and give us a more in-depth look at like the actual connections. Sometimes things happen with contestants and with the lead and you're like, wait, when did they go from barely knowing each other to being this in love? Okay, I guess I'll just play along. And I think it could be cool to really see more of those feelings develop. Hopefully. I don't know. I tend to trust the producers. I feel like they always do a good job.
They always know best.
All right, well, Chris has been making the interview rounds. He did not just stop by. He's been chatting with everyone, doing his duty, promoting this upcoming season. And across the board, you guys, he is sticking to the narrative that Clare is our Bachelorette. When asked why we haven't seen Tayshia in any of the trailers, which is something I know we've talked about, Chris told Refinery29, well, why would she be in the trailers? She's not the Bachelorette. He went on to make it very clear that Clare's journey is important and has been a long time coming. He said, quote, "Clare is our Bachelorette, and this whole thing was about her journey. She has waited, and we were excited to give her this moment. She's earned it. So it's all about Clare up until the time it doesn't need to be. And people will have to watch to see if that happens." So while he wouldn't really confirm Tayshia, those last few sentences there definitely point to something. He's starting to give a little nod to something going on. He also teased a little bit about what we can expect night one, saying when those limos arrived, there was so much relief, so much gratitude and thankfulness that she really just dove into it, obviously talking about Clare. He went on to say, I think more than any Bachelorette, she was sincere and excited about this opportunity. She was bound and determined to make it work. She was bound and determined to take advantage of this extraordinary moment in time and find the man she wants to spend the rest of her life with. He also said that contestants had a similar sense of like gratefulness and appreciation due to finally being able to do this during the pandemic. So based on everything Chris has been sort of out there saying, it seems like the contestants, while they were given a different, experience than usual, they were really happy living in the moment, happy to be there. And Clare, as we've all been expecting for months and months, really took this journey seriously. Regardless of how much time we're gonna have with Clare, I really am excited to see a Bachelorette who's just so sure of herself. I mean, she's so mature and ready for love. And I think even though this is a show about relationships, that's not always the case. I mean, what are your thoughts on Clare's sort of attitude towards the whole process?
I think she's so ready, and especially given the 6-month pause, how Chris said she just had to go home and think about being the Bachelorette. And I think that's why he's making it so clear, like Clare's journey is very important, and that's why they're not really bringing Tayshia into this, because one, that wouldn't really be fair to all the other Bachelorettes, like just as far as advertising goes and like splitting the spotlight, Basically, Clare has waited so long and she's taking this so seriously. They didn't want to take this away from her. They want to let her have her moment because she's really earned it. And like Chris said, like she really put all her effort into each contestant. When they showed up, there was this big feeling of relief. And I think it was in the Chicks in the Office podcast, they interviewed Chirs Harrison, and he said this season's also different just because of, as far as intimacy goes, this was the one season where he feels the closest to the contestants just from being in that bubble. And I just think it goes both ways. We're also going to see like relationships between each contestant grow and with Clare.
Totally. Honestly, I think this is going to potentially be a turning point for the show. I mean, the show has been called out for some of its shortcomings in a way that they will have to address every season moving forward. The show, for the first time, is perhaps going to have to show us more of those conversations that perhaps they deemed like unnecessary. And if fans really react in a positive way, I could see, they won't completely rework the entire angle of the show just based on this season, but I think it could be really interesting to see what happens this season that leads to a long-lasting, potential reset in the way they go about things in the future. Not only with Clare's season, but this takes us to Mr. Matt James and his season, because we finally know who will be competing for his heart on the next season of The Bachelor, which of course is also going to look different than previous Bachelor seasons, very similar to Clare's. They'll be filming in a bubble, and it will reflect the crazy times we are living in. So, pandemic aside, let's talk about the 43 women who the show announced will be potentially competing for Matt's heart. They'll be announcing the final cast at a later date. They were very clear about this. I feel like, remember, Clare's season, of course, underwent some last minute changes. Contestants were added, contestants were removed. So I think they're kind of giving themselves a little wiggle room here. But they did announce 43 women who could be competing for Matt's heart. He is, of course, 28 years old. The girls are mostly in their 20s. 4 out of the 43 hopefuls are in their 30s. And the youngest contestant is 21, which is younger than me.
Wow.
But we will see.
I thought the age was 22. I thought you had to at least be 22. Is it 21? Or did they change it?
Apparently, clearly they do not shy away from young contestants. That was a huge criticism of Peter's season, was that so many of the contestants were so young. But we do have a decent pool sort of in their mid-20s, which, seeing as Matt's 28, it does work. So overall, seems to perhaps be a little better. Aside from their names, ages, and hometowns, not very many clues have been sent our way just yet, at least from the Bachelor staff. They are obviously all gorgeous. If you've clicked through the photos, they are stunning. This is a very diverse lineup of ladies, which I know so many of us are so thrilled to be seeing. The show, of course, did not provide too much information, like we said, but in terms of where everyone's from, since we're just looking for any sort of stats we can get, we've got 7 contestants from California. So they are at this time, the most California girls in the competition. We've got New York in second place with 4 potential contestants. Then Texas and Washington are each tied with 3. So interesting, I guess. Outside of the US, we have a contestant from Ontario and another from Ethiopia, which I thought was pretty cool. And as far as insight into what producers think Matt's taste is visually, just going real surface level here, you guys, we've got about 35 brunettes or ladies with just like darker hair and only 8 blondes. So perhaps Matt is a brunette kind of guy. I don't know, Avery, obviously this is all, pretty surface level, but what are your initial thoughts on his roundup of contestants?
I mean, by just looking at the group, it is super diverse, which we love, but at the same time, everyone is absolutely gorgeous. Like, all the girls look like models. They all look 21 to me. So it looks like a really good group just by looking at the picture.
Totally. So that was released on Facebook. They put like a little gallery up, and I, of course, am a crazy stalker. So I clicked through, and based on the likes and comments, 2 early standouts from the Facebook crowd of fans are Anna and Abigail. Anna is 24 and from Minnesota. Abigail is 25 and from Oregon. And of course, they're both gorgeous. There is one contestant that we already know a little bit about because she's sort of in the public eye. Her mom is a famous fashion designer, and that would be Cynthia Rowley's daughter, Kit Keenan, and she is actually the youngest in the lineup. She is our 21-year-old. This mother-daughter duo hosts a podcast together called Ageless, which promises to explore the fashion business, wellness, and motherhood through the lens of our adventures around the world, according to the show's description. Keenan also heads a clothing label called Kit. Based on her Instagram, Kit is very active. She frequently posts workout videos, and she loves to cook. So Kit, you guys, if you really wanted to dive in, we could all go listen to her podcast. I mean, what are your thoughts? She is our youngest contestant, but she is sort of in the public eye. Do you think she is too young? Do you think they tapped her because she's the daughter of a celebrity? What are your initial thoughts on Kit, Avery?
I mean, just being in the public eye already kind of calls for a sense of maturity. And given she's a host to a podcast, she's definitely probably got some good chat. So I think she'll do all right for a 21-year-old with a 28-year-old.
I have to say, I, of course, stalked her Instagram. She looks adorable. Very excited to get to know her and see her personality.
Yeah, she's really cute.
She's totally cute. So hopefully, like you said, she's a mature, wonderful 21-year-old woman. Because we're not ageist here. You can be mature at any age.
I'm probably way more immature than her, and I'm 22.
I love it. I love it. Reality Steve, of course, you guys got to work digging up info on all of Matt's potential contestants because, I mean, of course he did. He's Reality Steve. This is why we love him. He revealed Mariella Pepin. I'm not sure if we're going to say all of these names correct. Sorry in advance if we're butchering any of them. But she competed against 2 of Peter's contestants in the 2019 Miss America pageant. We know The Bachelor loves pageant girls. She is not the only pageant girl in the running either. Catalina Morales is reportedly a former Miss Universe Puerto Rico winner or contestant, I'm not sure. Although, according to her Instagram bio, she now works as an attorney. Kim Lee, Steve learned, is a travel blogger, which is also very cool. And our contestant from Ethiopia, Maggie Tureki, works as a model and as a pharmacist. So a very cool group of ladies. Steve found the girls' social medias, or what he believes to be all of their social medias. So if you want, head over to his Twitter and you can get started on your own deep dives into stalking all of them and learning about their lives. From their socials, we've been able to learn that there are multiple attorneys, quite a few models and dancers, a cheerleader, as well as a flight attendant and realtor. So as usual, we've got a fabulous mix of careers, jobs. That's always my favorite part, is in the first days when they all say their jobs. Steve did also find some drama though, and I want to get into this. He shared on Twitter some tea for you already. Apparently, Madison Nelson was dating Matt last summer when Tyler was seeing Gigi. He continued to say they went to one of the fashion shows together and shared some photos of them together, saying that he heard they were a couple for at least a few months. What are your thoughts on this, Avery? Someone Matt dated possibly being a part of the pool.
I instantly thought of just Kelly and Peter, how they already knew each other prior. So this could go either way. We'll have to see. Reality Steve really does some digging. All the stuff he finds is crazy to me. But yeah, that should be interesting. I always love when there's someone that they knew in their past, or like an ex pops up on like any reality show. It adds for some good tea.
I was going to say, same, it does bother me. I know some people were like, that's not fair. You know, there's always, of course, so many mixed reactions, but I feel like someone he once dated, that they clearly ended the relationship for a reason. That doesn't necessarily mean this person's going to win. And if there's any sort of loose end with that person, like any reason that he could go through this competition and be like, oh, but I'm still not sure. Like, what about, you know, so-and-so that I may have wanted to be with? You might as well figure that out in the process, then go through the whole thing and leave with doubts.
Exactly.
So who knows?
This is like the ultimate test in terms of relationships.
100%. So before we wrap, general thoughts on Matt's season. I know we're both excited. I know we both think he's going to make a great Bachelor. Do you have any hopes or dreams or predictions for what his season would look like?
I'm honestly looking forward to just getting to know Matt more, considering we haven't really seen much except for with Tyler and the TikToks and all that, but getting to know him, and then of course obviously the contestants. It's just a little hard to focus on this right now because the Bachelorette airs next week, but obviously the girls are gorgeous and it looks like it's going to be a really great, once again put together season.
I couldn't agree more. Totally am with you. So excited for The Bachelorette, you guys. It feels like it has been such a long time coming. We will, of course, be talking about all things Bachelorette. So if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe. That brings us to the end of this week's episode. So in the comments, let us know your thoughts on all things going on in Bachelor Nation. We want to know what you think of Matt's girls, what you think of all of Chirs Harrison's teases. Be sure to let us know in the comments so we all can get on the same page going into next week. If you haven't already, make sure you ring that bell so you get notified every time we post a new video. As always, I'm your host, Fiona Zaring. You can follow me on socials at Fiona Zaring. And Avery, where can they find you?
You can follow me at Avery Grooms on socials.
Awesome. Thanks so much for watching, you guys. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.